Hello artists, welcome to Painting Tempera Center Level F. You've made it to the end. Here we go. Let's see what we are doing today. So it says here, I can mix brown without help. I can add shadows in paintings. I can successfully paint in layers from the least detail to the most. I can successfully paint my paintings. I can have crisp colors in the foreground and grayed out colors in the background. All right, let's see what this looks like. So this is your choice. You can either use, keep building off of your painting from level E. Yours would be all done. Mine is not, but yours would be completely done. So you can either build off of your level E painting, and you can do that by just putting and level F here. Or you can get out a brand new experiment page and do a brand new mini artwork. You just circle painting and put level F. All right, so here we go. The first thing we're going to do is mix brown. So brown is 3 different colors. We have red, yellow, and blue. I don't need very much of any of these colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my palette knife here, and I'm going to take my red into my yellow to make orange. I'm going to take my red into my yellow to make a kind of a lighter orange. So here we go. Again, I want to make sure that I am kind of scooping it. I can scoop it into each other. I have a really nice yellowy orange right here. It's a really pretty color. Okay. Know that brown is really hard to make, so this might take you a couple tries, and that's okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my palette knife here. And then I'm going to take a little bit of blue here, just a little bit to start with. I want to add in the blue slowly because I don't want to add in too much or it will get too dark too quick. I can already tell I'm starting to get like an olivey color here. So it's starting to get a little darker. It didn't take very much. I get that all the way mixed in. I think I'm going to need some more, so I'm going to clean off my palette knife here and grab a little bit more blue and then go ahead and get that mixed in. There we go. It's starting to look even more. Maybe I want that to be just a little darker. All right, it's starting to look even more brown here. All right, it's starting to be a kind of a grossish brown, but I would keep adding until I get a brown that I like. Know that this might take me a couple tries. Once I have my brown, then I could go ahead and get it painted into my image here. It's starting to, notice I have my brown here, and I'm getting it right up to where my tree bark is. Notice remember I painted in my layers. I'm successfully painting in my layers because I am painting on top of what's in front of it. So the grass was behind, so now I'm painting on top. And I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting by adding kind of this more raw edge. If I notice my paint's really thin, I might need to wait to let it dry, and then I can add some more color into it. All right. So let's talk about those really crisp details from the back to the front. Or let's actually talk about our shadows first. Let's talk about that. When I'm adding shadows into my paintings, I want to imagine where the sunlight is going. So if my sunlight's somewhere over here, okay, then I know that I'm going to have a shadow from my house, and I know I'm going to have a shadow from my tree. When I'm adding in a shadow, it's just brown and that color. It's darkening that color. So I'm going to take some of my green here, and I'm going to take some of my brown that I've made. So here's my brown. I'm going to put it over here. I don't need very much of it. I would need to wait till my grass is completely dry before adding in my shadow. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my green from my grass, and I'm going to go ahead and mix it in. The shadow is casting down on the grass, so it's gonna be green. That's gonna darken it up. This is gonna make a shadow. All right, when I have that done, I know that my shadow is going to be in not just like a flat shape. I know it's gonna kind of look like the tree trunk, kind of over here. And so I would go ahead and take that darker thing of green and get that shadow in like it's casting over here. And then I do the same for my house. My house would be the other thing that's casting a shadow. His hat's kind of blocking him, so I'm kind of blocking it here, so it might might not show very much. All right, then successfully painted in layers from the least detail to the most detail. So we've kind of seen that this whole time. I'm painting in layers, I'm getting more details, so I've already painted my mountains here. And to kind of finish my mountains off, I am going to grab, just with the tiniest brush possible, I'm going to grab just a little bit of black, and I think I'm going to make it just a darker gray actually. So I'm actually going to grab some of this gray here. I'm going to mix those together to make a darker gray. Ooh, that's a pretty one. All right, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to add in some more detail to my mountains to kind of show that they're not just like all just kind of running into each other. They are separate mountains. And I'm going to get those kind of there. Things that are farther from me have more, have less detail than the things closest to me. So, to give my tree some texture, I need some more details. Okay, so right now I just have my plain tree. Here's what I can do to add some more texture to that. I have this really cool fan brush here. And I'm going to take a little bit of my light green on one side, like that. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow on the other side here. And I'm going to kind of get some fan colors in here. I'm going to make some texture in my painting here. You get a little bit of this yellow. And I'm going to kind of, again, I'm making some of this really cool texture with the side here, making this a little bit more interesting, adding some more color back and forth. I could do this on other things to make my painting more interesting with some more texture. I could do this on my cartoon character. Maybe I take a lighter bit of orange or maybe a little bit of yellow, and I could do that. I could also do that with maybe other brushes if I really wanted. So I might take a little bit of this yellow here, and I might just add in some texture into him to make him more interesting looking. A lot of times with paintings, we stop painting too fast. We stop painting too soon when we should have been adding more detail. So know that this will take a while. Know this is a process. And you might come back to it next time and you might think, I need more detail. And I might do that. All right. I can also do that to things like my grass. Now, let's talk about the grass here. The grass that's closest to me will have more details than the grass that's farther away from me. That's talking about those crisp colors, how I have crisp colors in the foreground and grayed out colors in the background. The farther things get away from me, the less color they have. So I used a tone here, a tone of yellow in my yellow house instead of just bright yellow because it's going to be farther away from me. My grass, one way I can show that there's like a different texture with my grass and I'm closer to it is I can add these texture details up at the front here to make it more interesting. Let's talk about highlights here real fast. Highlights and other types of shadows. Okay, so using my very small brush here, if my light is coming from this side, I'm going to see a few different things. I'm going to see that things like his hat are going to have highlights and shadows on them. So what I want to do is a highlight is where the light is hitting it. I want to take a little bit of white that I have here and I want to highlight the side that the sun is hitting. I'm going to add some more detail here by hitting some highlight. maybe I add in, I'm grabbing little bits at a time here. Maybe I add in a little bit of area where we can see what direction the hat's going, like some lines, some detail lines that help me figure out where my hat's going. And then on the other side of my hat is going to be a shadow. There's going to be a shadow there. So I'm going to want to take a little bit of black, and I'm going to want to, again, I don't need very much. Maybe I even take a little bit of purple and put in my black. And I'm going to add that shadow. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow here. And I'm just going to come through here where I have a shadow. There we go. I could even add highlights to his eyes if I wanted. I would go back in here and I would paint his pupils. I haven't done that yet. And then once I have his pupils painted, I could add a highlight where the sun is hitting his eyes and it's kind of glassy looking. I'll show you on the nose. I would take just a little bit of white and I would just paint maybe like a little dot where his nose is maybe a little shiny. But I could do that in the eyes as well. I could do things like painting one side of the tree with a little bit more whites and yellows and painting the other side of the tree with more greens and blues. So maybe the side with my shadow has more of a greenish texture to it, kind of moving over here. And then maybe as I move over to the other side, I would find a little bit more yellow and a little bit more white. And I can finish it up with my highlights. I want to add lots of layers. This helps make my painting a little bit more realistic. It helps make it so that my viewer really gets the sense of where I am and what I'm doing. But I could add all sorts of things. At the end, I might have something that looks really textured to where I have my highlights, I have my textures, I have my shadows and my grays. Happy creating!